the irony of it is that it's just like all she really wants is to get the heck out of that town, and she can't. She just can't get out of there.
Hey Renny, how you doing today?
Good. How are you, Nicole?
Good, thank you. It's such a pleasure to be chatting with you. I love the first film, so just being able to watch the second film and chat with you all about it is such a pleasure. So thank you so much for taking the time.
Awesome. Awesome. It's all my pleasure.
Now, one of the scenes I was most excited to see going into this film is that in the hospital scene. It was reminding me of one of my favorite horror sequels, Halloween 2 from 1981. And something about that scene where Maya's in the hospital, she's in a place where we feel like she should be safe, but of course she's not. So I'm curious for you, from a filmmaking standpoint, which kind of techniques and camera work do you tend to gravitate towards as a director to ensure that sense of anxiety and fear are felt throughout a scene like that?
Great question. And my goal is always to try to make the audience feel like they are there, to make them relate to the situation. And I do it with the selection of the angles, the lenses, the camera movement, and sometimes characters looking straight at the lens to create the feeling like they are looking at you, the audience, and then the pacing, and sometimes, of course, it's a matter of lots of different angles to create certain tempo and to lead the audience a certain way. And then sometimes it's about creating long shots that are very choreographed, and within the shots you build the tension by organizing the movement of the actors and the camera. And it, particularly in the hospital, I felt like that lend itself well to that type of thing where you're going through these corridors and so on, that you can actually keep the audience in this suspense for quite long times if you stay in the same shot, and it kind of just sort of builds upon their anxiety because you don't give them the relief of cuts.
Absolutely. One of my favorites is kind of that circular shots we see where it might start on Maya kind of doing something in a room and one of the strangers might enter. And I think that's such a great shot because, like you said, stays in the same room and it builds that suspense up and you're not cutting it out.
Good. Great, thank you.
Now, something from the trailer that I feel like a lot of people I saw had a reaction to was when we see Scarecrow running after Maya down a long hallway, because so many times in films, and horror films specifically, serial killers love that very slow walking pace and they somehow always get there in the end, right? But for you, I'm curious, what was a choice you made or something you did throughout this movie that kind of broke a horror movie stereotype or mold that you wanted to get out of for this film?
Thank you for noticing that. It's a great relief and an honor when people actually see what you're trying to do, and that's such a prime example. We have this scene, and in the script it says, Scarecrow comes around the corner and sees her and follows her, and yes, in a lot of movies you would have that, just the lumbering serial killer who never runs but always somehow gets there. And I think it was a combination of wanting to do something different, and also realizing that we had an actor playing Scarecrow who was very physical and able-bodied. And I said, just idea came to me right there. I was like, what if you didn't walk and you didn't jog, but what if you ran as fast as you ever can? And what would that feel like? And then we did it, we shot it, and we were like, oh my God, it's so scary because he's coming at you so fast, you can't get away from him. So I try to do that wherever I can. And it's a combination, I think, in a horror film, of leading the audience down a path and paying it off with sort of what they expect, and they get the satisfaction from that because they get to be smart. Um, but then again, also breaking the rules and the convention, and coming up with a surprise, which also you see that the audience will be really satisfied because they get to be surprised. And I just saw this a couple of days ago. We had the premiere, and I saw the movie for the first time with an audience, and it's so satisfying to see those beats working when they go like, oh my God, I didn't see that coming. And it's not about jump scares and like just like throwing something in your face, but really being able to lull the audience into believing that they're going this way and then taking a quick left turn.
Absolutely. Well, I think decisions like those might seem so simple, but so, like you said, effective and terrifying in it. So I love those decisions.
Yeah, yeah.
Now, one of the things I love most about getting a sequel to a film like this is the audiences have a chance to learn more about these strangers and kind of take a peek into their side of this cat and mouse game. Now, I know you cross-shot all three of these films, but were there ever instances for you during production where you were learning more about the strangers that kind of helped you understand their story, or even in post-production, seeing things about their story that help you lend to your knowledge of them?
Well, the first thing that I thought was the most important decision was that where easily, producers might say like, okay, they're wearing masks, so let's just use stunt people to portray them, but was insisting on getting real actors to play these parts because it's just their movement and presence that is so different when there's a good actor. And it's, acting is always tough, but it's super tough when you have a mask and you can't use your facial expressions and you don't even talk much. So it all becomes about the physicality and how they carry themselves, how they move around, how they walk, and we learned every day just seeing our actors explore these scenes, and it's almost like something. Of course, sometimes you can give a little bit of direction of like try this, but it's mostly about them really living the part and inventing what makes those characters tick and what makes them different from each other and all that and that educated us a lot and made us also kind of like have our personal favorites in terms of the strangers characters and like feeling of like who do we want to follow, who do we want to explore further, and who do we want to tell more about, and who do we think the audience will be most fascinated to know more about. So it definitely helped us guide on our way to revealing some of these backstories.
Absolutely. Now, in another interview that you did, you mentioned you had an emotions board to help guide you through this filming process and keeping track of where you were as you were jumping from scene to scene in different films. What did that look like for you, and what was that biggest challenge of shooting in the way that you did?
That was the challenge, because not only mentally you and the cameraman and particularly the actors had to always be in the right place at the right time, but the makeup people, what kind of cuts and bruises do they have, and the wardrobe people, like how bloody and torn are their clothes, or what clothes are they wearing in this scene, and all that was a big logistical spiderweb. And for me to the key to my approach was that I planned every shot of the movie, all three movies beforehand. So I had a shot list for like 4,000 shots before I even started shooting anything. So every scene was planned out, and the tempo of scenes and the sort of visual arc of the movies. And because I I believe I know, at least me, if I was in a situation where I'm just like, okay, it's day 17, and like, what do we have here? Like, okay, we're doing this scene where such and such happens. You would sort of like try to ratchet it up in every scene, because you would be just, okay, like, how do we make this scene as exciting as possible? Okay, we're going to have this thing, and then this happens, and da da da. And same thing in directing actors, like, okay, you're super scared and you're screaming and you're crying and this is happening and it's horrible. Uh, and the only way to keep some kind of sense to it and have the peaks and valleys is that you plan it beforehand and you make this emotional chart, like how does the tension build and the despair and grief, and how visually the story has its different levels. And so when you get to day 17 in the morning, then you look at your shot list and you look at your emotional chart, like, oh, she's not actually screaming and crying, she's kind of pensive in this scene, and the camera is not going crazy, it's kind of just going to drift in and like, okay, I planned this once, so it must make sense. And then you follow that, and that way you build an arc instead of just going full steam ahead in every single moment.
Yeah, I can't imagine having to keep track of so many different moving factors and juggling that. So, a huge congratulations for you and your whole team for doing
Thank you.
that so
Thank
well. Now, before we wrap, I just wanted to ask one more quick question. For Maya in this film, she's meeting more individuals in the town of Venus. Do you think she actually feels more isolated on this journey and fight for survival as she meets more people because she doesn't know who to trust and who is a stranger?
Yeah, I think definitely that's the case. More she meets people, more suspicious she grows and just starts thinking like, are all these people in on this? Could they all be strangers? Is this just a town of killers? So it's the irony of it is that it's just like all she really wants is to get the heck out of that town, and she can't. She just can't get out of there.
I don't blame her. I'd want to get out as fast as I can too.
Yes.
Well, Rennie, thank you so much for your time. I appreciate it. And congratulations again on the upcoming release of Chapter 2.
Thank you, Nicole. I really appreciate it.